Well, the big GST reforms is the top focus this evening. The 5% and 18% dual slab structure approved by the GST Council is being seen as one that will boost sentiment and also demand. Now, it's been hailed as a landmark step by the BJP and central government. But here's a counter view. Joining us this evening, former Finance Minister and Congress leader, Rajya Sabha MP, one of the leading voices of the opposition, P Chidambaram. Thank you, Mr. Chidambaram, for joining us on this broadcast. In your post on X, you have welcomed this move, but you've said that it's 8 years late. You've also asked what prompted the government to make this move. You've also listed out multiple issues. What is your assessment of the reforms and what do you think of this?
Let me make it clear. This is what we have been asking for the last 8 years. I mean, if you want, you can check with Dr. Arvind Subramanian. We have all asked that multiple rates should be done away with. There should be one low rate. All right, they have got 2 rates. That's okay. One low rate plus a rate, and low rate minus a rate. This is what Dr. Arvind Subramanian's last report also proposed. But I know the conversation with the late Mr. Arun Jaitley and what he told me. He said, let's pass the bill and we can amend it later. I said, why should he pass the bill? It has to be brought into force on the midnight of 1st of July. Why? Why can't it be brought into force on the midnight of 1st of October? Anyway, they didn't listen to us. We have been saying this for the last 8 years. Mr. Rahul Gandhi derisively called it the Gabbar Singh tax. I have said it should be a good and simple tax. Finally, wisdom has dawned on the government and they have moved towards rationalization. I entirely welcome the announcement, but I must point out it is 8 years too late.
You saying you welcome the announcement, it's 8 years too late, sir. Some of the states like Karnataka and Kerala have also raised the issue that it could give central government financial gains but a fiscal cliff for the states. They're worried about the fact that there is no mechanism to compensate states for revenue losses both in this current financial year and the road ahead. Would you take these concerns seriously?
Well, I don't think they have addressed these concerns yet. They have only announced the revised rates yesterday. The meeting is continuing today, and I'm sure the government of India and the finance ministry will address the alleged loss of revenue and devise a suitable compensation mechanism. When we introduced GST, when my predecessor, Mr. Yashwant Sinha, constituted the group of finance ministers, and I continued and held several meetings with the group of finance ministers, this was a topmost concern. And we assured them, and Mr. Arun Jaitley also assured them, that a compensation mechanism will be announced. Now, whether the compensation mechanism is satisfactory or not is a separate question. But I'm absolutely sure that a wise government, which has taken this step, will address the issue of a possible loss of revenue for the states.
Right. Mr. Chidambaram, the 2 slabs, 5 and 18%, there are also those who have questioned if the gap is too huge. Are you in principle in agreement with the 2 slab principle? Is there anything that you would want to watch out for as it's being implemented?
Our recommendation was a single rate. A single rate with a plus, a small plus and a small minus. All right, it may turn out to be a 3 rate, but it's still a single rate. World over, there is a single rate for GST, most countries. All right, they have got 2 rates, but this is a huge step forward. It's a hop, step, and jump. They have hopped, they have stepped, but they will eventually jump. They will come to a single rate. But I have to welcome what they have done. But I must add that it is done 8 years too late.
You're making that point. You made that point on your post on X as well, sir. You also listed out why is it happened now. You listed out 4 or 5 reasons down there, including a sluggish economy, a response to a sluggish economy, or to Trump's tariffs. Now, do you believe that this, which is believed to be a measure to boost the economy and the sentiment ahead of the festival season, actually addresses the deeper concerns of job losses in several sectors because of multiple reasons, not just because of tariff pressures, but perhaps technological reasons as well, and the larger economic distress in the economy?
It does not address all the issues, but it will help address some of these issues. For example, consumption is low and consumption will be boosted. I've spoken to several people since last night, and I've spoken to people today. Everybody is unanimous that consumption will be boosted. There's another grave thing that many of you have forgotten, that thanks to COVID and thanks to the GST mechanism, several lakh MSMEs have closed down. So it's possible that if the government addresses that issue of closed down MSMEs, some of them will revive. MSMEs closure directly contributed to job loss. So it's possible that the government will aware of that issue. We have flagged it. I flagged it immediately after COVID, and I've flagged it immediately after GST. So the combination of 2 factors led to several lakh MSMEs closure, and it's possible that they will address that issue. But I can't speak for the government. I can only speculate. Right. I can only hope that they will. This is not the end of the road. This is the beginning of the journey to revise and revamp the GST structure. Right. There are still pitfalls. For example, the entire GST law is so complicated that no ordinary businessman can file the return on his own. In fact, in a small town like Karaikudi, there's a mushroom of so-called accountants, not necessarily qualified, but familiar with computers, and they have mushroomed, and every shopkeeper has to engage somebody to file the return. I have appeared in several cases of GST disputes, and it's so complicated. I mean, I'm willing to help simplify the law. They claim that they are simplifying the law, but the GST law is the most complicated law. And for years, they did not even prescribe the forms. Right. They have ad hoc forms. Therefore, there are many, many other issues. But now that they have started this journey, I hope they will be wise enough to continue the journey and complete the journey.
Right. Mr. Chidambaram, the Prime Minister...
Since you're mentioning... Sorry, Vasudha, I just wanted a subsequent question to Mr. Chidambaram on, since he's brought up Karaikudi, I also want to bring up Tirupur, because that's one of the areas where there's going to be enormous distress because of Trump's tariffs. And you spotted about the MSME sector per se. In a sense, you would believe that there needs to be multiple steps at an enormous scale to address the core issues in the economy after this GST reforms measures roll in.
Of course. This is not the panacea for all the ills of the economy. They have to do several other things. But at least I'm happy that they have addressed a large portion of the GST problem. Not entirely. But there are many other issues that they have to address.
Right. Mr. Chidambaram, I remember your piece, and I really want to ask you this about the bully in India, and you talked about Trump tariffs. Are you optimistic that India will be able to navigate the situation with regard to tariffs?
I don't know. I think the Indian Foreign Service is still Indian, but it no longer serves the government, because the government believes that the Indian Foreign Service does not serve them, and they treat it as a foreign. If they heed the advice of the Indian Foreign Service, seasoned diplomats, I think we can navigate it. But if they act on instinct, a Trumpian instinct, if we also act on instinct, Trumpian instinct. I mean, you do something instinctively and I do something instinctively. I think the Jula diplomacy, Dosti diplomacy are all no place in a real practical world. It's a hard-nosed world. You have to rely upon professionals, seasoned diplomats, people who have known the American establishment for several years. If you rely upon them, I'm sure it can be navigated. How does China navigate America? Because the Chinese foreign bureaucracy or foreign service bureaucracy is deeply entrenched. But here, I think I've known people tell me or tell others who told me that the foreign service is not dependent upon as much as it should. And this is all political instinct prompting responses.
Right. But Mr. Chidambaram,
the diplomatic aspect aside, sir, in case, in a sense, in terms of the MSME sector, there is going to be a short-term impact and then there is going to be a long-term impact of the Trump tariffs. What would you believe is that one key measure that's needed in the short term to ensure they don't dip below a tipping point?
MSMEs.
Yes.
Are you talking about MSMEs? All right.
Yes.
MSMEs which are running will get a boost by the GST cuts. They may not require too much help, except perhaps working capital. If they have to expand their production, if they expand their inventory, if they have to make capital investment, they should be given working capital and easy credit. But for the MSMEs which have closed down, there should be a well thought out package. Why are they closed down? Which sectors have they closed down? Sector by sector, you should invite the MSMEs entrepreneurs who've closed down and find out what ails them and make sure that they reopen the MSMEs. It's possible. It requires hard work, but I'm sure the FM will take this advice as good advice and put in the hard work.
Right. Mr. Chidambaram, as a prominent voice of the opposition, what is your message to the Finance Minister and the Prime Minister on the GST reform, specifically on the implementation, because the rates would get announced, I mean, they'll be in place on the 22nd of September. The Prime Minister has pitched this as a very big Diwali gift for all Indians.
It's not a Diwali gift. I mean, this paternalistic attitude is what I oppose. It's not a Diwali gift. It's a blow to the industry, to the consumers, especially to the MSMEs. They have realized that they dealt a severe blow. They are repenting for the blow. If I was in his position or in a similar position, I would say, all right, I'm sorry that we took 8 years to realize this mistake. But I am now willing to redress the injuries. Come and tell me. And first, he should start by consulting the opposition leaders. He should start by consulting economists. He should start by consulting people who understand finance and economics. Now, they may be neutral, they may be belonging to the opposition parties, they may be economists who are out of favor, but irrespective of their label, you should address the issue by taking as many views on board as possible. And then find out, I think there are enough people in the government today who can distill the recommendations into concrete action. For example, Mr. T.V. Somanathan is their cabinet secretary. There is Mr. Shaktikanta Das, who is the secretary to the Prime Minister. And there are many other people. You should You should leave it to them and then ask them to distill the recommendations. Then you can take a political view. But you can't take a political view and say, now bend economic theory and economic principles to my political instinct.
Right, so you're making a point of advice there to the government. Sir, my final question to you before I let you go. What's your advice to young finance ministers and revenue ministers in the opposition's ruled states? I mean, would you believe that they need to also look at this in a national prism, or not just look at it from state-specific prisms, because there are multiple dimensions at play here?
So I don't know of no state belonging to ruled by the BJP or the opposition which opposes the GST in principle. There's no other state. There were two states when we tried to implement the GST. One was Gujarat and one was Madhya Pradesh. But that story we'll tell you on another occasion. There is no time for that story. But today, no state opposes GST. But the state has to guard its revenue. The state has to deliver within its revenue. And therefore, the state point of view is relevant and material. You should take on board the state's point of view and find out a way to compensate them if they suffer a loss. I don't know. The math has to be done, whether these rates will lead to a gross loss of revenue. See, apparently there will be a loss of revenue, but on the other side, there will be a boost in consumption. There will be an expansion of industry. There will be an expansion of production. Therefore, that will compensate to some extent. So you'll have to do the pluses and minuses and come to a conclusion. But if there is a loss to states, it must be compensated. Once you compensate the states through a fair formula, why should any state, BJP or non-BJP, oppose it? I don't think they will oppose it.
Right. Thank you, Mr. Chidambaram, for joining us. Appreciate your time, sir. P Chidambaram, their Congress leader and also Rajya Sabha MP and former finance minister, making that important point that policy needs to be distilled into action and consultation is key. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good day.